All right, everyone. Well, welcome again, and it's good to have everybody here. We are, like I said a little earlier, on about a 15-second tape delay. So when it goes out, you put in questions in the questions and answers. It may take us a second to see it. We'll try to save all of those for the end, but go ahead and write those down if you've got them during the presentation. That way we can circle back and revisit them later. With us today here at NC Works, we have the Wilkes Recovery Revolution. Alexis Triplett is going to kick off our introductions of folks. We've arranged this panel for basically everything that employers should be considering and employees should be considering about recovery, reentry. April is the reentry month, so this was a great time to do it, and we appreciate Alexis being here today. And I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you for having us here. We're excited to be a part of this and share, what we're about and what the employers and peers we get to serve are about. So, like you said, my name is Alexis Triplett. We work for Wilkes Recovery Revolution. That's a recovery community organization here in Wilkes. We do have 12 unique programs ranging from employment, housing, vocational training, soon to be treatment services, which is amazing. But today, what brings us here are our phases: housing, transitional housing, and recovery friendly North Carolina, which is we do recovery to work here in Wilkes, but we also do recovery friendly workplaces, going around providing workplaces with the resources and tools they need to support employees in recovery or seeking recovery. So yeah, we're excited to be here today and share a little bit about what we do.
Yeah, same. Brandon McManus, I'm project coordinator for Phases Recovery Center, which is a unique program under Wilkes Recovery Revolution's huge umbrella. What we offer at Phases is let me go this way. We're a transitional house program where we have to make meetings, 90 days. The program can extend to 6 months, 9 months, up to 1 year. And in our program, we ask that individuals come in and get gainful employment. And what we do to provide and help them with that is of course, give them tools and resources, and also transportation. So within our program, and this is phases only up under Wilkes Recovery, we provide people that are clean and free of substance abuse, and also transportation too. So it's within our program, we try to reach out to the people in the community, employers such as Gardner, Greenwald, and other employers, Jenkins, many different employers that we work hand in hand with, and our goal is to let employers know that these individuals are ready and they're in recovery and that they're ready to go to work and ready to change and turn the curve. And we're very successful at our program with these tools, and we're really thankful for employers. So yeah, we've got a great thing going here, and just glad to be here, glad to be a part of this.
Thank you. Here we have Randall Parsons here with Gardner Glass. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Randall Parsons. I'm the Vice President of Gardner Glass Products, doing business as Dream Walls. That's our marketing brand, and I'm glad to be here, and we're proud to be a recovery-friendly workplace.
Thank you all for being here. This is our first actual event that we're doing of this. We're trying to spotlight some various issues, of course, create some consumable content that folks can revisit later. We had John Pooler from Tyson wasn't able to be with us, so we pre-recorded his introduction. So I am going to launch that here shortly. I just want to make sure that I've got the sound going so folks can hear it. And here's John.
My name is John Fuller. I am a corporate chaplain here at Tyson Foods in Wilkesboro. I've been here for the last 5 years, and the short of it is really just working in the space of with HR in the people space, and really just helping people achieve their maximum in life. So that work-life balance is what I'm all about, and just thankful to be here to share with you today.
One of the things that we decided we'd kind of kick off with was the idea of what inspires companies to make this effort, because this is definitely, you know, if you look at it 5 to 10 years ago, I don't think there was as much of a push as there is today. So we'll kick off with John, and then we'll hand it over to you, Randall. Sure.
It was probably about 3 years ago. We had a complex manager who really was had the pulse of the people as far as his heartbeat was more in process and people, but he had the yearning for a second chance. Being in that environment, we had a meeting with one of the representatives from R3, and just kind of really started to noodle and think about what that would look like. How that would really evolve in our space, and really seek another route that really would open up more doors for people to be able to pivot and not just be maligned with past mistakes or circumstantial situations, and how could they achieve more. Tyson's always had that open outlook, and with his purview and permission, we kind of just edged in and went forward. Sat down with HR and our other managers that were here, and that's why we arrived here. We wanted to just make room for people with the advancement that Tyson really offers as far as going up the scale, being able to change and position. We thought this would be the best place for them to rebound in the sense of there's more than just production work on the floor. There's management, there's administrative work that's here, and just thought that this would be the best place, as well as introducing them to other things that we have as far as educational advancements. With the statistics and the area in which we're in, as far as the region is concerned, I don't think we really had the choice. Now, we could have ignored it and just kind of limped through. But that wasn't the edge that we wanted, an approach that we wanted to take. We wanted to be a place where people could land acknowledging that, yes, this is an employer, but how do we recover? How do we restore? How do we offer another vantage point rather than, oh, that's them, or oh, that's that, and stigmatizing and going forward? We wanted to just say, hey, how can we be more well-rounded? So we had a lot of conversations, just kind of seeing how we would be a all-person employer, and then dealing with the different segments of life that just arrived. So that happened to be one of them that we were just trying to navigate through. And so said, how would they land? And we needed a partner, and R3 came through, helping us to define that space for employees and team members.
I'll turn that over to you. With Gardner Glass, what was the impetus or what's been the inspiration for working in?
Sure. Well, I'll begin by, it started with the introduction to Brandon, I don't know how many years ago, and our volunteer efforts with Faith Fest, which is a local Christian music festival that's held annually here. But Brandon and I are very, very involved in that. And so with the introduction to Brandon and getting to know him, and his passion for his work, I said, I've got to get involved in this. Just to hear Brandon talk about his path and how he got to where he is today certainly inspired me. But Gardner has always strived to be very involved in their community, and to reach out and to do things that could help whatever organization. And so, and I know many companies probably consider, and as I heard the Tyson representative say, this was a good option for them for employment, but we feel like it's the right thing to do. yes, it's a good option for employment, but it's also the right thing to do for our community. So that's, I guess, our inspiration to be involved in this.
Well, is there anything y'all would like to add just in terms of where your inspiration is coming from? I mean, obviously, this is your wheelhouse.
So, I think really living it, you know, being at our bottom and knowing where we are today, it provides hope for other people that's going through what we went through. So like for me personally, that's my inspiration. You know, you can go from being homeless on the streets, ripping and running, you know, to now I'm here, I'm running a statewide organization. I have my bachelor's, master's, I have a beautiful family. And you know, a lot of people don't see that hope and see like the end point whenever they're first coming into recovery or still actively using. So that was the biggest thing for me when I heard about Wilkes Recovery. And you know, I went into healthcare, moved to Wilkes, learned about Wilkes Recovery, and decided like this is where I'm meant to be. So yeah, I think it's, you know, God put me here for a reason, and this is it, to inspire others and use my story to provide hope. Yeah, so I think employment's a big aspect of that. It's so critical. If you're not in a place where you're secure and comfortable, it's hard to maintain recovery. So we help employers provide that support for their employees to help maintain that aspect of their recovery.
Yeah, I'm just gonna piggyback right on, it definitely, for me is, you know, when I was, in my work part of my area of life, and what I like to call the dark days. You know, I knew I needed to work, right? I knew I needed to have a job. However, the problem was my addiction. And so I was pretty crafty at talking. And I could land a job. However, quickly there into it, I was always let go because of a problem with substance use. And so I went through this long period of time where I had burnt so many bridges around here in Wilkes County, that it would, I didn't feel like I would ever get another job ever. Okay. I felt like that, my hands were tied, and that I had pretty much given up. I had pretty much quit working, quit trying to do anything except the things that I knew to do, which would be to, I hate to say this word, hustle, but it's true, hustle and use drugs. But I definitely did not see, I couldn't look past my nose into something, as far as the work success goes, or recovery. So, after I was incarcerated, which I was incarcerated for, 7 years in federal prison, when I got out, I was like, well, now, no, I'm not getting a job anywhere. You know, now, you know, I've got these felonies on me, and I've done federal time. I mean, it was just, I felt like the end was, like, I felt like I was gonna have to come back out and do the same thing. And, thank goodness that we have individuals, HR departments and chaplains and people, like Randall and Gardner that, have let the stigma of individuals like myself go, right? Wilkes Recovery, when it come to play in my life, I knew this is just like her, I landed in the right spot, especially in phases, because we are those people that are breaking stigma. And, you know, like her, I now am a homeowner, where I was homeless, or unsheltered, to use correct language. I didn't have a car before I went, into federal prison for many years. Now I have many. I have a wife. I have 2 beautiful children. And all of these are, like she said, glimpse of hope, because you know, I didn't see this in my future. Now, all I can see is recovery and success, and it starts with relationships and community. It starts with, hey, I can do this, but it all begins with the relationship with with employers. And if I can do it, I know anybody can. And I've seen, we have, speaking for phases, and I just want to touch on that. We've still got, a couple of guys that have graduated or completed, I hate to use the word graduate, completed our program at phases that are still with Gardner. One of them is one of their main guys, I would imagine. And just a great success there. When we built relationships, not only there, but at other places. We've got 5 people that work at Worldwide. We've got 4 that work at Jenkins. Several that work at McDonald's. I mean, this is great stuff, guys. Because it's possible if we can get individuals working in this community. When you work a job, then you're less time in your mind. Because being in your mind creates that will to want to go do other things. Working helps. First of all, you get paid money to work, right? We all need money. And so when we get paid, if we can be in a good area in life and be surrounded with people like Wilkes Recovery R3, people that have these NC works, that's got people in place that help, that you can talk to and work, try to be in a good, safe place, then you're moving forward. And it just helps the community. We're trying to, I think our unsheltered population is dwindling down. And mainly that's because we've got housing available now for people. We've had some, other people like hospitality housing places that's got these grants offered to help people get in homes. And it's just, if we all work together in this community and work and have one common goal to see that, hey, these individuals can make it. I'm living an example. She is, of course, Devin and Jeff are, so it's possible. We've got the living experience to see it, and we stand on it and live it. Thanks for letting me share.
Well, you hear a lot about, experience, strength, and hope. And that is one of the things that, it is difficult early on, I believe, for folks when they're hopeless. So hearing about these success stories, thank you for sharing those. On our end, one of the things that we can do at NC Works is that there are more resources that are available for folks that are justice involved. And, a lot of our personnel over the past few years has gotten more information and training too on dialogue and reducing stigma, just in terms of the actual language that we use and things like that. But I think one of the more universal terms that everyone uses is success, and what does success look like? We recorded John on a success story, but Randall, I was going to kick it over to you if you wanted to share any particular success story that you'd like to share with Gardner in this work.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's a couple. Brandon mentioned one, but this individual I'll speak about came to us and fairly sordid past, and we knew that, but things went well in the beginning. So this is kind of a 2-part story here. So things went really well in the beginning. Thought things were going great. He was doing well at work. He was on time. He was doing a good job. And so he disappeared, and we weren't sure what was going on. So found out it was, things had kind of gone off the rails a little bit. But fast forward months, however long it was, I can't remember exactly, but we got an opportunity to hire this individual back. Now, most companies might say that's it, one shot and you're out, but we understand grace and brought this individual back. And Brandon mentioned he is one of our key employees now. And when I say key employees, we rely on him in several different areas of our business. and has been doing fantastic for several months now, probably a year plus, I would say. But that's a true success story, and I wanted to share that because again, uh, sometimes folks just need a little grace. They need another chance. You might say the first opportunity that we hired this individual was a second chance. And maybe the second time was the third chance, but sometimes that's what it takes. And I think as a company, as an employer, you've got to be willing to maybe take a couple of chances because these individuals sometimes, it's hard to get beyond their past. And maybe it might take a couple of times for them to really understand and to be able to appreciate what they had at with a job and with a paycheck and being able to provide for themselves. So definitely a success story there with this individual.
I appreciate that. While I'm loading this video, Misty, you have obviously seen quite a lot of success stories that have come through, NC Works and just basically, these 4 counties that you oversee. Originally, we didn't have you as part of the panel, but because you're here, and I know that you've seen an awful lot of cases, I just wondered if there was any particular one that you wanted to throw in while I load this.
Just think back to the beginning, I think of the concept of recovery friendly. We were in those initial meetings with Wilkes Recovery and trying to kick this off. And our organization with the Workforce Board and NC Works was one of the initial groups that stepped up and signed on to recognize the recovery friendly efforts. And it's just grown since then. We're very blessed to have Wilkes Recovery in our region. We've also partnered with some work in Avery Mitchell Yancey with Freedom Life as well, and our NC Work staff up there work with them. So there's a lot of good work going on.
Well, thanks. It seems like there's been an awful lot of growth in this area, which is just, really encouraging to see. And then we'll have John on here again.
As, reentry, there are multiple individuals that we were able to work with that were on work release that came here, really got a new start, new lease on life, and they came with the mindset. It's not anything we did. We can't take credit for that because it's really how you show up. And they did. They really showed up. An opportunity just presented itself, and they navigated very well. Of course, can't name any names, but I'm thinking of a gentleman who came in, was working on the floor, been here for a couple of months. He had maybe about a year left before he was released, and now he's a lead. And just in a matter of time, just because of his leadership skills and his desire to, as he stated, sorry, it's making me smile, but it just as he desired to say, I can't go back to where I came from. I've come this far and I just want to move forward. And so he did. He took it, took this by storm here, and really allowed his opportunity to become his next level up. When I think about as far as the recovery space, I think of a couple of individuals that really were seeking solace, were seeking a place and a second chance without being stigmatized, and being able to put them in the right space with the right people. They were able, as far as external help, they were able to really pivot and do quite well. Some of them are no longer with the company, but I'm thinking about one individual. She is just doing quite well and has just kind of turned her family's life around by making the proper choices, by giving that opportunity.
One of the things that we talked about in the course of the planning for this session was the idea that individuals in early recovery, in recovery in general, and Randall, you kind of touched on it. They struggle with a number of things, not even necessarily a return to use, but just, the daily grind. the challenges that come with adjusting at different stages in one's recovery. And so one of the questions, and I'll kick it off with John from Tyson, but one of the questions that we wanted to kind of flesh out was the idea of how do employers work with individuals that are struggling with recovery, not necessarily struggling with return to use, but struggling with all the other things that come along with it. And what's that process kind of look like? How can an employee help themselves in those cases? So we'll kick off with John here from Tyson.
As far as the frustrations, it's really about, like I said, you have to show up for yourself. Honestly, we can advocate all day. We can put all the tools and plans in place and really for lack of a better term, have the water there. But if you're not willing to first identify your thirst and then make your way to the place where you can be refreshed, then there's really no point. But I mean, as far as Tyson's perspective for team members, it's really you have to self-advocate. And so and navigating that space looks like, hey, this is my situation. Some vulnerability has to be in play. Some relationship building as far as myself and them, as far as being a chaplain, and then advocating for them in special ways without having to identify specifically this is their struggle or this is what's going on. But I get to, with my HR perspective or hat, is to not have to indicate to their supervisor, this is their struggle, this is what is going on, but hey, they're going to be working with me. This is XYZ, he's going to be doing this. They're going to have to step off the line to do these type of things. And I just need to know that this is what's going on, and they cannot ask from that standpoint. So it really helps them keep that kind of trust in the relationship so that they can navigate. Now, if they say they're going to indicate to others, that's on them. They can definitely do that. That's up to them how they want to do that. And being able to train the leaders and the supervisors here on how to receive that without any kind of backlash or any kind of stigma. It has been our three's real lead in to help us to, qualify our language and how we really address those situations. But really, it's really counseling, anything that person says that they need or are open to at that moment or indicate that they want. We try our best to make sure that they get that help that they need, assistance, I should say. I don't like to say help, let's say assistance.
So Marion, I'll kick it over to you. Employees that are, just struggling with life in general, then they've got recovery thrown on top of it. What can they do to help themselves? What does the company do to help them? What's it look like?
Yeah, I think John made a couple of points there that are important, and that is, as an employer, if you decide to do this and take on these individuals, you gotta be willing to invest time and effort in helping them. And again, not that you're paying them special attention necessarily, or you're calling out their past issues, but you got to go out of your way to make an effort to be available. To do check-ins is what I like to call them, and to make sure they're in the right areas, because most companies know where their employees and supervisors are that would probably be the best fit and to be able to help this person. So that's on the employer to try to do that. But again, I think follow-ups, having an open door, if you will, to make sure these individuals can come in and talk and share any concerns that they have is very important.
Appreciate that. I think that we can lead into the next question pretty easily with that. And Misty, if you don't mind, I'm gonna bring you in one more time on this. But the employee, they're getting ready to apply for a job, at Gardner. What do? They've got something, a couple background things. What's their best approach, and what's your process, I guess?
Yeah, well, I think one key to this is to try to treat these individuals, like, any other employee or any other potential employee walking off the street or applying online. I like to have a heads up. So Brandon does a good job with that. And then I can sit down, the HR team reports to me at Gardner, so I can sit down and they're all on board with this program. And so we know this individual, may have something, that shows up on their background. But we know that that's something that we're gonna, evaluate and review. And, it's not necessarily gonna be a knockout, which it hasn't been so far, in terms of their background. But, I think, again, we try to keep it basic and really treat these individuals like any other applicant. Other than we may be taking a little bit closer look at what their background, check might bring back.
Thanks. Misty, and just in terms of what we see through here at NC Works, obviously, we see a range of individuals with different backgrounds. A lot of times when they're entering information, we encourage them to be honest, but we also encourage them to be, I would say, not oversharing, but definitely accurate in their representations of things. Do you have any thoughts on just kind of what you've seen work and not work out in the community?
I think for job seekers that come in the center, probably just being open with the career advisors they're talking with and talk through those situations. We try to have staff trained on how to help customers think through those processes, how to respond to employers, complete those applications. It's just a process. And like you say, community connections is most important.
That definitely was one of those areas that Brandon, your experience in this, you're almost an advocate for some of these individuals.
Yeah. So when we have individuals come in, first of all, to get into phases, it's not an open door policy. There's an interview process. We do background checks as well. Where you're not saying that disqualifies you for anything. We're in recovery. We want to bring all in. However, there's different types of recovery in different layers. Some individuals that want to come to phases, if they're still active in use, that don't mean it disqualifies. It just means you need to go to detox or you need to go to treatment. And so that's what R3, our sister program, of course, we refer to them and they help these individuals get to that point. And then hopefully, if we have beds available, they come to us. So when they come to phases by this time, then or out of incarceration, come to phases. When we sit down and have case management sessions, I guess I could call it. But what we do, we talk about, first of all, I try to find out what their goals are, and what they have done as far as their past employment. And then once I get the feel for them, then that's when I start my advocacy. And so I will call, I may call, Randall, I may call, somebody, Whitney and Jenkins, I may call John at Tyson and say, look, we have a strong individual I think would make a great employee. Now, no 100% guarantee, right? But we do before I start the application period. I always make sure that the individual is at least willing to work as part of it. Now, when I do advocate, the things that I can say is they'll be there. We provide transportation. Not only after that, they're going to be clean and free of substance use because we grocery. So there's two pretty good qualifications coming out of phases that I advocate for. And I think as far as, also as far as R3, because I think it's fair to mention for them, that, you know, when individuals come, because, not everybody that comes to R3 are in active use, okay? And even if they are, what is the use, right? Like, what are you using? You know, what does this require detox, you know, or, because some people can live active, you know, and still be very successful. So R3, you know, they're very good about reaching out and advocating for individuals as well. And John works real close with several there from Tyson. So, but yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I advocate. And it's sort of a banded session with what I do.
I can see where there'd be an awful lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And especially if things don't work out.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna switch over to John from Tyson's, his take on the application process. Then I'm gonna let it play through to his thoughts on the future of recovery in the workplace. And then I'm gonna get everybody else's take on that, and then we'll close it out by opening to questions and answers. But so far, I really I'm learning a lot. I'm gonna turn it over to John on the application process now.
I would say, for most corporations, I mean, as far as the legality is concerned, there are certain things that we do ask as far as, you know, felonies, that sort of thing. Those are things that have to be disclosed, but most others would just be if they want to identify, in the sense of wanting to say, you know, I need help with this, but we really don't ask those questions when it comes to, you know, history as far as recovery, substance recovery. You know, it's really just the sense of going through the standard process, going through, you know, the testing and that sort of thing, and you know, advocating for themselves from that standpoint. But if they arrive and had a situation on the job, there's a whole nother format. It's different than just the application process, but it's pretty open. We're open to that in the sense of we're not going to, you know, stop a process because you're just as involved. It's just the sense of what are your skills? How have you adapted? How have you rebounded? And what way you wanting to move forward? So,
I'd like to add something there, if you don't mind.
Sure.
John is very humble. Another thing John advocated for in Tyson is, you know, THC can stay in your system for 90 days. So someone can not be in active use or using THC and they still test positive for it. So one thing Tyson implemented is you have your initial drug screen. Even if you test positive for THC, they still hire you on. And at 90 days, they test again. And even then, if you test positive, they don't fire you, but there's something you have to go through. I don't know that internal process for you to keep employment there. So that's one thing they've done. Another thing they've done at Tyson is that they offer harm reduction supplies on site. You know, we meet everyone where they're at, we meet peers where they're at, but we meet workplaces where they're at as well. So, you know, some workplaces aren't comfortable with providing certain type of services, but the thing is that part of RFNC, we are mediators in that aspect as well. If an employer is ever uncomfortable handling a situation, that's where we come in. So that's a very important aspect of what we offer as well. Yeah.
Thank you for adding that. Let me get back to John's take on the future of reentry and recovery employment. And then I'll get everybody else's take on it, but let's see what he has to say here.
that's a broad question, and it's really one that's exciting as well, in the sense that companies would even be forward thinking enough to say, you know, the chances are in certain regions demographically, how do we ride for the people we want to be there for? I think a lot of times companies are looking at, hey, who's going to be here for us? But in actuality, you have to arrive in a community. You have to, you know, really build those relationships. And so if we could really adjust our mindset from how we can accommodate the community that these companies are in, and realize what you're dealing with and why you moved in that region, you'll have to then arrive for them in the sense of how do I make this a process where there can be longevity? What kind of training internally can we offer? What kind of counseling can we offer? What type of benefits structure is going to help take away the barriers that would lead to someone saying, I need help. I don't see why we would want to have a corporation where people are walking around on facade mode. It's just going to end up with a product or a process that's going to mimic what the person's going through. It could have been better. And if we want to be better, we have to do it as one creator says, get better at being better for people. Because that's, as Tyson says, that's our greatest commodity, not in the sense that they're objects, but just, it's not about the process or us being a production company. It's about the people at the end of the day. But I think that's really how a company would really need to restructure itself and really look at itself in the mirror as it's relating to the demographic or geographic area that it's in, and saying, what are the things that are happening in our community, and how can we best be there and available for long term, for partnership and for families and for generations, and how sustainable is what we're doing while we're here, and how can we take, and I think, sorry, I'm answering this a long way, but how can we take the long route in thinking about Joe, who is X, Y, and Z, and who has this kind of situation? How can we impact at a different level for longevity for Joe to make a turnaround, as opposed to looking for ready-made individuals, which we ultimately do a lot of times, because we don't have that space to really say developmentally, what are we going to do for people and for team members? But looking forward in the future, and the environments that we're in, the traumas that people are coming from, we would better suit our companies if we stop thinking about them as output, as opposed to who's doing the input, and that's people every day.
We appreciate John taking the time to speak with us on this, and hopefully if he catches the recording, he'll hear our gratitude. But Randall, we're grateful for you being here today as well. Do you have any thoughts on this particular topic?
Yeah, sure. I'll maybe approach it in a little bit different angle here, but I think that if you're an employer and you're looking at this as an opportunity, or as let's say an applicant pool, because the one you've been swimming in is pretty shallow, maybe this will make the pool a little deeper. I think that's probably the wrong way to look at it. I think you've got to approach this in that it's the right thing to do. It's not, and John said this, I mean, it's not that you're not trying to put people in positions and in slots. You're trying to help individuals, and it takes a little extra effort. You may need to, my suggestion to companies who may be willing to try this is that you definitely need to find an individual or individuals who are bought in, who believe in what you're doing. And I think it's a cultural thing in your company. You got to evaluate if this is something you're really willing to do, because in the end, you're helping people. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. You're just trying to help people. And we've all been in situations where we need a little, like I said at the beginning, a little grace, a hand up, and I think that's where you got to begin.
Thank you. Our Wilkes Recovery Revolution folks. Alexis.
Yeah, I could probably go on all day about this. I think, when you look at turnover rates and, things that really impact employers, you got to get to the root cause of why is this happening. And the problem is that we're not investing in our current workforce and our current employees and the people that are in our current areas. So when you take the time to invest in the people that you already have, invest in their recovery and their well-being, you're not turning over the same problem again and again and again. So, you know, how much turnover can you go through to where you've depleted all your resources? So let's figure out our root causes, figure out those root traumas, the root environmental factors that are causing our problem, and let's address that. And I think that is done by investing in the people that you have. And you know, obviously, you can't do anything for someone who doesn't want to do something for themselves, but fostering that environment and that culture where they're comfortable to come forward and talk about whatever might be the root cause of what's going on in their lives. That's the first step. Just fostering that culture where they're comfortable even bringing that to the table. And I think that's where we need to start. Yeah.
Yeah, love it, Ruth. So you know, we're humans, right? And, and with that being said, you know, we've all got different paths. And I think with this initiative here, I think bringing things, we all live right here in this area together. Okay? And I think that, you know, when we ride down the road and we see individuals, walking, okay? And we see that a lot, right? And, what's our process? What's our thought behind that? You know, mine is, for one, if I've seen them walking several days, what can I do? You know, what can I add to this to try to, prevent this from happening? And of course, it takes the individual to take those steps. We all know that. But I think from what I see looking forward, right, is if we all work together for the common good of the human being, then we can't go wrong, right? I think grace and mercy needs to be invested in every aspect of our life, whether it be in our workplace, inside our homes, especially inside recovery. So grace and mercy, coupled with let's look at everybody as human beings. And some of us has made some bad decisions. I did. I probably made a bunch of bad decisions. And not saying I don't steal in certain areas.
Remember, this is being recorded.
Right. But you know, I put one foot in front of the other now, and I look at the goal, and I personally see that our organization, the work that we're doing here, along with the employers, this is a great thing. And I just, you know, my hope is that this continues to grow, and that's what I see. I see it already. Yeah, let's treat everybody as humans, and let's look past the problem. Because when we make the problem way bigger than what the hope is, then I think we stay stuck on it. Break the stigma and keep it moving forward.
I agree. We're on the front lines of this. Even if you ignore it,
Yeah,
you're still on the front line.
they're on the front line.
So you might as well be part of the solution. Misty, would you like close us out with any thoughts, any ideas?
I just think it's an amazing partnership and to continue to explore, build and grow the state.
Well, thank you all, for your contributions. I have folks that are hopping off, but if anybody has any questions, like I said, we're on about a 15-second delay. So by the time that I've actually said this, and then there's any written response, it may be a minute or two from now. So while we do that, I am going to just quickly go through a couple of upcoming things here with NC Works. Like I said, this was our first one of these hire events where we're basically broadcasting, spotlighting a topic, local businesses, and basically, you know, bringing together resources and folks with know-how, and getting our message out there. Like we said, you're basically on the front lines, no matter, whether whether you choose to be a part of it or not. When you're driving down the road and you've got folks walking, there's no better image, than that. So, coming up, what we have is, we are in our question and answer section, which we'll just check back here in the chat. There is a job and resource fair here at NC Works, in Wilkes County, right here in between, Anchor Coffee and CVS. That is Wednesday, May 7th, from 1 to 4 p.m. Folks can come by. We have, at this point, I think 10 or 11 employers coming, as well as some resources with more information from Legal Aid in North Carolina, on Truist Bank, a couple other major folks. For anybody that's out there, ncworks.gov, that'll help you find labor information within the state of North Carolina, jobs, employers. It'll help you build your resume, and of course, come to any of the career centers, work with any of our career advisors are happy to help you on your journey and to put you in touch with resources and people that can help you along your way. And here in the high country, we sure have an awful lot of resource centers. So we check back here on the chat to see if there is anyone, and if there isn't, then I'll let everybody go. But I don't see any questions currently in the deal. So I want to thank everybody for their time today. I thought this was nerve-wracking and productive all at the same time. Happy to do it, and just really appreciate all that you're doing for our community. It's just, when we talk about all of the resources that are out there and are available to people, we constantly hear Gardner Glass, we constantly hear Tyson Foods, we constantly hear Phases, we constantly hear Wilkes Recovery Revolution. It's an honor and a privilege to be in a room with all of you. Misty, as my supreme leader, is there anything? Turn it over to you. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you, and we will end the presentation. The recording will be available for folks, and have a great